So you did not meet with Kim Jong Un, you're saying?
No, I met with many, many world leaders.
I hope everybody had a good weekend. South Dakota Republican Governor Kristi Noem did not have a good weekend. If you thought her biggest problem this week was going to be bragging in her new book that she shot a dog dead on her farm when it was 14 months old, that is no longer the biggest problem. Kristi Noem has now been caught making up whole cloth that she went to North Korea and that she met North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un. Neither is true. She appeared yesterday on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan. If you have an aversion to cringe, you may want to turn this video off. Kristi Noem, is asked directly, did you meet Kim Jong Un? Your book very clearly says it. It's not alluding, it's saying, when I met Kim Jong Un. And the answer is obviously no. And Kristi Noem spits out an implosive word salad and sort of refers to I had the book changed. Well, didn't you write the book? Did you forget you didn't really meet Kim Jong Un? This is the worst of the worst of the worst of these people. And this is what MAGA is. I met Kim Jong Un. Did you? We're looking into how that got in the book. And I asked my publisher right away to remove that, right? But did you write it? Because you knew you didn't meet Kim Jong Un. Look at this. Maybe get the kids out of the room for this one. It's too cringy.
So you write about lessons learned in leadership, and you bring up some specific incidents I want to ask you about. You talk about meeting some world leaders, and one specific one, quote, I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un, I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. I've been a children's pastor after all. Did you meet Kim Jong Un?
Well, you know, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes and looked at this passage. And I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world.
You'll notice there's not a yes or no in here.
As soon as it was brought to my attention, we went forward and have made some edits. So I'm glad that this book is being released in a couple of days and that those edits will be in place and that people will have the updated version.
So you did not meet with Kim Jong Un. That's what you're saying.
No, I met with many, many world leaders. Can
you imagine? Hey, would any of my viewers accept this sort of equivocation from me? Imagine if in my book I said, hey, I met Gandhi. And then in an interview, I'm confronted and said, David, you wrote in your book that you met Gandhi. You didn't meet Gandhi, did you? Listen, as soon as it was brought to my attention that my book says I met Gandhi, the book I wrote, by the way, as soon as that was brought to my attention, I didn't hesitate at all. I showed strength. I contacted my publisher right away and I said, we've got to change this. Oh, so you didn't meet Gandhi, right? I've met all sorts of different people. I interviewed all sorts of members of Congress. None of you would accept that. You would all rightfully cancel your memberships immediately. How is this acceptable?
Leaders, I've traveled around the world. I think I've talked extensively in this book about my time serving in Congress, my time as governor, before governor, some of the travels that I've had. I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with world leaders.
Except she talked about it in her book and it was a lie. Now she won't talk about it.
I'm just not going to do that. This anecdote shouldn't have been in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I made sure that that was adjusted. So the book is not released until Tuesday, and so we're doing all that we can to make sure that those changes are made, and I'm going to continue to focus on what this book is.
Disgusting.
And the blueprint that it lays out for the American citizen on all of the things in the background and stories of my life, but also what I think that needs to be identified in politics and what's broken today. I talk about how broken the money game is, how broken it is that...
David, you say in your book you moderated a presidential debate in 2004. That's not true, is it? This was brought to my attention just before publishing, that my book contains an anecdote that shouldn't have been in there, that I moderate. And I've participated in debates and I have moderated debates. But the anecdote that I moderated a presidential debate, I'm working with my publisher to figure out, how did that get in the book? What?
That we've got consultants that are getting rich off of elected officials, and then how fake some elected politicians are. Every single person in this country wants someone in elected office that's a human being.
All right. So long story short, the answer here is, hey, Margaret, I didn't meet with Kim Jong Un. I don't know why I wrote that, but I wrote it. I wrote the book, and it's in the book, and it shouldn't have been in the book. That's it. It was a lie. It was untrue. I just delivered a finished manuscript for my book. And I just don't get how this happens if you write it, right? Now, if the argument is, well, she told some stories to a ghostwriter who misinterpreted a story about her meeting Kim Jong Un and then put it in the book, and then she didn't realize it because she didn't read her own book. But they're not claiming that she used a ghostwriter, at least as far as I'm able to tell. Who's her publisher? Did she sign off on the manuscript? Did she read her own script for the audiobook that she presumably recorded? You would think that there are endless points at which this obvious lie would have been removed. And she even continues lying during the interview. She says during the interview she's been to North Korea. She hasn't been to North Korea. She went to the DMZ. This comes up. She's just a liar.
History has been extensive and covered decades.
Right, but you never went to North
Korea. I make no
Korea.
specifics in this book. I talk about the fact that, yes, I have. I've been there. So
you went to North Korea?
Yeah, I went to the DMZ, and there are details. There are details in this book that talk.
Okay, so then she slips in, well, I went to the DMZ. The DMZ is a buffer zone of sorts between North and South Korea. It is not honest to say you went to North Korea if you went to the DMZ accessing it from South Korea. It's just not honest. And I know that there are her defenders who will say, well, she sort of did go to North Korea. She went to the buffer zone between North and South Korea. Once you step out of South Korea, you're kind of in North Korea. No, it's a unique situation. It's the demilitarized zone. It is a deliberate buffer zone where you are neither in South nor North Korea. She's just a complete and total liar there is no way to make this anything other than she is a disgusting liar. And by the way, in the book, forget about telling the story that she killed her own dog. She suggests Joe Biden's dog should be killed. Let's talk about that now. Sweaters, candles, the dreaded bathrobe. Unfortunately, Mother's Day gifts can be a little predictable and boring, which is why an Aura frame is the perfect gift to mix things up this year. Named the best digital photo frame by Wirecutter, Aura frames are guaranteed to bring joy to those of all ages. I don't live super close to my parents, so giving them an Aura frame with pictures of the baby was a perfect gift. Both I and they can add pictures to the frame using the Aura app, no USB, just infinite cloud photo storage where it all happens seamlessly over Wi-Fi, super easy. Not only will she be grateful, it's not another sweater. She'll also love that an Aura frame gets she means to see more of you. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Go to auraframes.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman for $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling frame. The link is in the description. Terms and conditions apply.